Welcome to Inside Duncan, a community working together. My name is Lyle Roggow, president of the Duncan Area Economic Development Foundation. And my guest is Dr. Tom Deighan, who is the superintendent of Duncan Public Schools. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Lyle.
Tell us just a little bit about yourself, and so the audience members will know. I know this is your first year at Duncan Public Schools, so kind of give us a little, background about you.
Well, nobody plans to be a superintendent when they're in elementary school. It just kind of happens. And for me, I moved around a lot as a child, and I attended 12 schools before I graduated high school. Wound up graduating in Hinton, Oklahoma, moved there, and that's where I met my wife. And so Western Oklahoma's been my home ever since. But when you move around that much and you go to so many schools is really one of the only things that's constant. And so becoming an educator was really a natural progression for me. Schools meant so much to me as I grew up. So to be an educator and just naturally move forward. Of course, people know I was at Lawton for 6 years, but having the opportunity to come to Duncan has been a great thing for me and my family, and it's just a tremendous community.
Well, it is a tremendous community. I mean, I think we've got a lot of resources. We're a very unique system, and I think we're the right size system as well.
Right.
So I think that is a huge item. I mean, you can manage. I mean, everybody works pretty well together. It is a unique community. That's the reason I've been here for 14 years.
Right.
So, the other thing that I think we probably need to address, because it is one of the hot items right now, and that is the coronavirus. Do you want to talk about what is the policy right now? Where is Duncan Public Schools within the decision-making process? What are you going to have to do? How are you going to follow the lead of higher ups? I'll let you kind of chime in and tell us, what will you guys be doing about this?
Well, now that the government and World Health Organization has declared it an official pandemic, we're in uncharted territory as a school district, schools in the state of Oklahoma. Fortunately, Stephens County has a really strong emergency management system, and so they're updating schools and providing guidance there. Joy Hoffmeister of the State Department of Education is providing guidance as well for schools. What we're going to do as a school district is make sure parents have the best information and make sure we follow the guidelines provided by these healthcare professionals. But most of all, we are wanting to make sure that parents know where to get information, which we're going to make sure is on our school website. We're going to make sure it comes out through Facebook and our normal avenues. But at this moment, we're still waiting for further guidance from Stephens County and the State Department of Education. We know that we have to do the simple things like cleaning. We know we have to make sure that students are instructed in hand washing. Fortunately, we have a group of nurses in our district. We have 6 nurses, and they're going to be able to help. They're going to be able to advise us on a student and staff member basis. The number one thing I want parents to think about during this is that as we make decisions and as we hear guidance from health department officials and the State Department, that we will get that information to them as soon as possible. We will share everything that we know, and that we'll get through this together.
So if parents or if they need to know where to go for information, where would they kind of guide us through your Facebook location, your website, if you want to give those website addresses to us?
Our school website is duncanps.org. You can just do a quick Google search, it'll be right there. Any information that we have about the coronavirus, we'll make sure is right there. It's important over spring break that parents realize there will be information possibly coming out. And as soon as we get that information, we're going to make sure we share it with parents through the website, through Facebook, and through every other means of communication that we currently use.
Yeah, and I know that this is uncharted. We're hearing things about even some of our universities that are taking measures as well. And so with that being the case, I mean, you're having to follow suit. And I appreciate the fact that you understand what you're having to do. We hope that everybody understands the decisions that are made are being for the life and safety of the students and of the workforce available. So
number one thing is the safety of our staff and the students.
Yeah. So and we're preparing for the worst, and hoping for the best.
Absolutely.
So I think that's the key. So, but one of the things that I think is exciting, and we'll kind of start this up, we've got about 2 minutes to kind of tee it up, and that is on April the 7th, you have a, I guess, a bond election.
Correct.
And it's a renewal. It's not a new tax, but let's kind of at least kind of talk about what has been the process up to this, and then we get the second segment, we'll talk about what is in the bond. So how did we get to this point?
Well, one of the last things I want to do as a new superintendent is do a bond. But fortunately, the board and the previous superintendent, Melanie Howe, had done an incredible amount of legwork and preparation with a 4-year strategic plan. And so all of the pieces were in place with the community and the board and the staff to take that next step. And so, like I said, it is not a tax increase, but there's been a tremendous amount of community, staff, and parent involvement to bring us to this point. And so I'm really honored to have the opportunity to take that ball and run with it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is key. So some of the things you have done is you have individually gone to the staff members and reevaluated what their needs were, and trying to get us into how do we utilize the dollars for the best and most maximum use possible.
Yes.
And it's also based on what are our needs. And I think there's some unique things that we're not the highest taxed school district either, as far as where our tax burden is. And so it's a very fair deal. So if there's anything, we got about a minute left before we go into the next segment, but you know, what is the things that she did do to prepare you?
Well, a lot of people don't realize that Duncan Public Schools is recognized as really a statewide leader in strategic planning. So for the last 4 years, the district has faithfully and consistently met its bond obligations for the previous bond, but also been laying the groundwork and the plans for what is going to happen over the next 10 years. Okay. And so all of those things went into the planning, but as you said, even those things that happened, we didn't take it for granted. We went to the staff, we involved parents, booster clubs, PTOs, to make sure that before we made any final decisions, that we included everybody in that whole strategic planning process to come up with what came into this bond.
Very good. Join us in just a moment. We'll talk more.